One of the funniest things today was you gotta love these camps where one of the drills, the kids dribbled his right hand and they said, dribble your left. He went, oh no. That's what's at heart these things are is to tell these kids, hey, it's learn more about basketball.
Yep.
For kids who don't see you guys in person a whole lot.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It's just kind of try to really bring the guys out, and really the big thing you get and I've gotten is just how much people care about Kentucky basketball and how important it is to them and how important it is in the state. And, with not being able to do any of this stuff last year, just getting here in September, I think it's good for them to kind of see how much people love them and how much people appreciate what they do. And I think that's been a big part. And then the rest of it with the little kids is just for fun. So you don't expect them to know much. You're just trying to make sure they have a good time.
Are you also getting some of that personally? Obviously, you knew Kentucky basketball, but
Right.
you didn't get to do any of this last year either. And
Yeah, you know it, and then you don't really know how big it is until you're in it. And I think that's the one thing that really getting to experience now that we're able to sort of kind of find our way back to normal with some of the stuff we're able to do now. But I think that's the one thing you really feel is just the pride people have all across the state for what we do.
does it make it, obviously, you're going to be out on the recruiting trail here in a few weeks. Does it make it easier for you or different for you to kind of sell the program to recruits, seeing stuff like this in person?
No, I think it's always something that is kind of, it's easy to sell because people know about it and you see it on TV and you understand what Coach Cal has done in his time here. And I think you can kind of understand, what's going on. But I think I have a greater appreciation of, the people you may not encounter. Like, this is my first time in this area in Ashland and Boyd County. So these people, you kind of understand. And people are saying like, oh, my family's had season tickets for 45 years. And you're like, wow. So that's the thing you kind of start to appreciate a little bit more about doing stuff like this.
Rich, what do you hope these campers take away from this awesome thing?
I just hope they take away that, we're, with being far away from somewhere like here and being on TV and only seeing the guys in instances like that, but just kind of realizing they're normal people, they're kids too, so just them getting the opportunity to interact with us and interact with the guys, I think is big. And I think the biggest thing is just kind of seeing how good of kids we have. And I think that's the one thing we want to show.
We know what they get out of it. What do you guys get out of it?
I just get the enjoyment of just meeting new people, being in different places. Like, I've never been, anywhere except for Lexington in Kentucky, and then Louisville when we played there last year. But besides that, just getting to see all these other parts of the state has been great.
You use the word normal a lot. Have you seen the guys maybe do a 180 from January, February, March to like now, where you can kind of see they got a spring in their step. They're seeing more people. They're
Right.
feeling more normal.
Yes, I think that's part of it. Because, a big part of it is just their mental well-being. And, that stuff is connected. It's tied together. If they're not in a good place with stuff they're doing, it's impossible to believe that stuff won't carry over to the court. And that's a hard part to think that it will do so. I think with them being able to find some normalcy and being able to hang out outside of practice and just go eat together and do things like that, I think will help with just building that team camaraderie.
How excited do you think we're going to be in November when you're back at rep and you see 24,000 in the house as opposed to what we saw over the winter? I mean, I can imagine just.
If you think about it, Keon's really the only person who's experienced that.
Yeah.
With him, Brennan, Dante, and Zan. But some of the other guys and the guys last year never get to experience. So I think, and I've never experienced it. So I think for the first time when that happens, it's going to be really exciting.
Coach, obviously 2 new coaches this offseason. What has it been like to work with them so far this offseason?
They've been great. We've this is really the first week we've gotten to really interact and be around each other. Everything's been like phone calls and Zooms and stuff like that. So getting to be around them, getting to interact with them, they've been amazing.
Obviously the biggest story in college basketball this week, Coach K announced he's retiring at the end of the season. What's it going to be like to face him on opening night to start the season?
I mean, this Duke's always a big game. It just adds a little bit more to it. And the biggest thing is they're one of those other blue blood schools you always look forward to playing. And with it being possibly our last time playing, we never know what can happen in March. But, it just adds a little bit more to it. So it'll be exciting. I'm sure everybody will be excited.
How excited are you?
To get back on the recruiting trail next month. I see guys in person.
Yes, that's the best part. Is you kind of build a different type of relationship when you're able to be around people face to face, through a Zoom and things like that, and just getting out and starting to feel like you know, like you're saying, just get back to what our normal job is and doing things like that. So we're excited about it.
It seemed like when you first came that Cal kind of had you and Joel were going to kind of be a tag team from a recruiting standpoint. Now with Orlando and Chin, I guess what's the dynamic going to be like there?
I mean, I think the one thing you'll see is just everybody. I think the biggest thing is just being on the same page and everybody doing a little bit of communication and recruiting. And it's not just, oh, this guy's recruiting this guy. We're all. The University of Kentucky is recruiting this guy. And I think that's kind of the one thing that will be a big difference and something that'll be a little bit more different than it has been in the past.
As you hit the recruiting trail, is there a particular area that you feel like the team needs to address more than the others?
No, not at this moment. I think the biggest thing is just getting the best player we can find, and then we'll kind of figure it out when we go from there. And I think that's the one thing that Coach Cal has always preached. And you know, the big thing the way basketball is going, it's really going positionless. So you need somebody who can dribble, pass, and shoot, whether they're 5'10" or 6'11". You know, and you just kind of figure it out going from there. So I think if we can get the best player we can find, it doesn't matter, you know, what size or what position they are. We'll kind of figure out a way to play.
Coach, we obviously know what happened last season. With the new offseason acquisitions, what kind of change can we expect to see on the court this season?
The biggest thing we're probably looking forward to seeing is just, you know, when you get older guys, you just have this feeling that they can be more consistent. You know, with them having played so many games, you can get somebody like a Kellen Grady and CJ and Xavier and, you know, the people who have transferred and played games, and you add them with Keon and you know, Davion, what he decides to do. That's something that you could kind of, you know, be excited about. And the one thing you learned last year, the teams that were really good were the teams who were older, and you know, that comes from less practice and less time being able to get together. So your teams that were in the Final Four and stuff like that were old teams. So, you know, we're trying to see if that's something that, you know, can benefit this year, because we didn't get a chance to go out and recruit, and we had some people leave and, you know, go to the draft, which we expected. So now having these older guys, you kind of see if they can fill that void.
Is that a trend you guys expect to exploit for the future to come, just transfer portal?
Well, you really don't know. I think it is a trend right now because it's so fresh and new, but you don't know where it will go and how it will happen from here. So you just kind of find, and I think for us it was just kind of, what do you need and what's the timing? You know, if we have something I think that you can get early, that you feel that you need and want, you go and get that from a high school kid or something like that. And if something late and something happens, someone leaves or something happens unexpectedly, that's what the transfer order is there, to see if you can find something you need later.
You obviously knew Damian Collins before he got here, before you got here.
Yeah.
Just what can Kentucky fans expect from him, do you think?
He is a ball of athleticism. He's not very big, so hopefully we can put some weight on him before the season starts and stuff like that. But, you know, he's someone who is all arms and legs, has great athleticism, great just natural ability as a basketball player. So I think he's something that, you know, Kentucky has seen in the past with some of the big guys. He'll still be his own because he's different, but he'll show some similarities to some other people.
How exciting is it to kind of get these kids back in the gym and you know, I believe pickup's already started, and Steve, just I think it's 2-month head start on what it was last year.
Right.
Just how exciting is it, and what does it mean for the program to be able to get back?
I mean, it's very exciting. We can't work for them for a couple more days, but they're able to do stuff on their own, and I know they've been in there together, like you're saying, doing stuff. But you know, I think it's a big difference, because even last summer when we were able to start, it was like one ball, one player, one coach, one goal. So it still wasn't the same. You know, still a lot of stuff was delayed. So when we're able to start with them this year, so we're able to jump right into it. So I think that's a little bit big difference. And it's some of the things you didn't expect that play a big part until you don't have it. And that's kind of what happened last year.
And then in-person recruiting's back, where you guys can actually host recruits, you know, on campus.
Right.
What's the difference with that and kind of getting away from the Zooms and you know, video conferences and those sorts of things?
Well, you know, the biggest thing with most of the guys this year, when they came to move into dorms, we had to do like a little mini unofficial, because they'd never seen the dorms, they'd never seen practice facility, they'd never seen RUP, they'd never seen none of that stuff. So, you know, that's one of the things you kind of take for granted. And I think getting a jump with being able to have official visits this month, it kind of puts you a little bit ahead in certain spots, with guys being able to see it earlier, and maybe they'll make decisions earlier or not, but it kind of gives you a jump that you weren't able to get last year.
Going back to the transfer portal a little bit, do you feel like the the power has switched too far to the athlete, or do you feel like it's about where it needs to be with the transfer portal?
I think it's about where it needs to be. I mean, there's always, it's a give and a take, and I'm a little bit biased because I was a former student athlete myself, and I transferred, so I understand the value of being able to do that. And I do think the best part that they did to kind of help us as a staff and universities is kind of put a hard date on it. And I think that was the best thing that they could do. And giving them that May 1st date of having to make a decision by then, because you don't want to go through a whole summer and thinking your team's going to look one way, and then August, 3 people decide to leave. So I think that was the biggest thing as a coach looking for. But, I think the ability for them to be able to transfer one time and be able to do that, it is best for them. And it may be best for the university, too, at that time. So it's a give and a take.
Coach, obviously last season, but not getting that Kentucky experience was a big thing for a lot of the players. Have you seen more excitement out of this group now they're actually getting to go out into the state and see communities?
Yes, and I think the biggest excitement is just them being able to be around each other. I think that's the biggest excitement, them being able to do that. And I think getting out to in the state is a big part of them understanding how important they are to a lot of people, what kind of joy and passion people have about them. And I think that's the biggest thing that they'll understand and take away from these camps that we're doing.
The NIL rules are expected to pass at some point, and it's not nailed down yet. But how does that kind of go into your recruiting pitch and kind of the landscape of your recruiting at Kentucky in the future?
Well, it's going to change everything, because it's a new thing, and it's something that you've never had to deal with. With them giving the players the ability to make money off their name, image, and likeness, and we can't have a lot to do with it. So the biggest thing I think as a staff and that we'll have to do is just making sure that everyone is equipped with the rules of what they can and can't do, and what they need to do to be able to do things and stuff like that. I think is the biggest part, and I think giving them the ability to do it is something that is, with the rule most likely passing, is something that's great for them because it's something they can do on their own. It's not tied to the university, not tied to anything, and if they're able to do it, they should be able to do it. But for us, I think the biggest thing is just making sure that they're doing it the right way and not doing anything that'll get them in trouble.
Cal mentioned that Kentucky should be the one school that should benefit from that more than anybody. How does that help your recruiting pitch, and have you been able to use that on the recruiting trail already?
No, we haven't used it yet, and it's something we're really not talking about till the rule passes. A lot of people are starting to talk about it because it seems inevitable. But I think the one thing for us at Kentucky is that we understand how big of a platform and how big a brand we have, especially in college basketball. So if we're saying for somebody who really wants the opportunity to enhance their brand on the biggest market, we feel that's what we are and what we have to offer. And now we really don't know what that means yet because we haven't been through a year of it and doesn't know what it looks like, but we feel like with what we have and how many times we're on TV and stuff like that, it's something that we should really be able to use.